What's going on, everyone? My name is Miles and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I wanted to give you guys the full patch notes that we have on the new event for Apex Legends, which is called the Old Ways event, which is the Bloodhound event. So I want to go through all of these things and just let you guys know so that way you don't have to read everything. We have a lot to talk about, a lot of nerfs, a lot of buffs, a lot of things going on in this event. So let's start off from the top. They say duos and map rotation starting on April the 7th. Duos will be added to the game alongside trios, as well as permanent map rotation to give players the ability to play duos or trios on Kings Canyon and World's Edge. We already knew that from the post that they made prior, and they say since the launch of Apex Legends, we've introduced a few times as limited time mode, and overall it's been a positive effect on the game's health in regards to queue times and gameplay systems, in addition to reinforcing team play, something that is a paramount to every design decision we make for Apex Legends. So with the 4.2 update, we are excited to be adding it as a permanent mode alongside trios. Duos will not be available in ranked though. Now what about solos? When we introduced solos as a limited time mode last year, we saw it actually negatively impacted the game, especially when it came to new player retention. We've also purposely designed Legends and their abilities to complement team play and squad composition, but when played solo, some Legend abilities become useless. These are just some of the reasons we decided not to include solos in today's update. We're still exploring ways to allow a solo experience, but for now, grab a friend or two and jump into the arena. They continue by saying, we know players want to experience a map variety when playing Apex Legends, so with the 4.2 update, we'll introduce a map rotation that will include the current version of World's Edge, Kings Canyon Season 2, and Kings Canyon After Dark. Ranked play will remain on the map dedicated to where we are in the current series, which is Kings Canyon. They also say we want to keep queue times as short as possible, which is why we decided to go with rotation versus selection, as we believe selection could have a very negative impact on queue times across the world. We'll be keeping the maps on a fairly quick rotation and tweaking it as we study the data and listen to your feedback. We'll also be introducing other versions of previously released Kings Canyon and World's Edge map into the rotation from time to time to keep it fresh, which I would imagine would be Season 0 and Season 1 Kings Canyon. They also say there's a new town takeover, Bloodhound's Trials. They say dive into Bloodhound's Trials, where you'll find your squad to battle against a horde of prowlers and claim high tier loot as your reward, but beware the most dangerous game, fellow legends who want to scavenge those goods for themselves. In moments of quiet, don't forget to explore the enclosure, especially with a certain hunter at your side. We've already seen this before. Now let's move on to the real patch notes. So we have some balance changes coming here. So the G7 Scout has been a reduced headshot scale from 2.0 to 1.75, so a little bit of a nerf there. Also reduced leg shot scale from 0.9 to 0.75, also a nerf there, and then slightly reduced the projectile speed. So the G7 Scout has been nerfed, and I think it is a pretty decent thing, but also I think the G7 Scout, since it just got the nerf with the sniper scopes, I think maybe it didn't need such a heavy nerf, but we'll just see how it works in the meta and see how people use it. Moving on to the L-Star. L-Star was reset its view kick pattern much more quickly to avoid horizontal recoil, feeling like it goes in an unpredictable direction while feathering the trigger, and I definitely noticed that a lot, so I'm glad that they fixed that. And they also reduced the time before overheat 2.4 to 2.2, 25 shots, 23 shots. So L-Star, not too big of a deal there, but I think the L-Star is still a really good weapon. They also increased the Kraber headshot damage multiplier from 2.05 to 3.0. And that's not really a big deal because the Kraber is usually a one-shot headshot anyways. The only reason they did this is just to make sure it's also one-shot headshotting to people with the red Evo shields and that are like Gibby or something aiming down sights, and also have a level 3 helmet or something of that nature. So it just wanted to make sure that it's always one-shot headshotting. So not too big of a deal here with the Kraber. It's still a one-shot headshot sniper. Moving on to the sniper ammo, they have reduced ammo per pickup from 10 to 8. So the sniper ammo is getting a little bit of a nerf here. Also reduced inventory stack size from 20 to 16. So kind of a big deal right here. Sniper ammo already is kind of rare around the map, so now we're getting even more of a nerf on sniper ammo, so maybe you would see less people using snipers now. They also made an adjustment to low profile and say limb shots for low profile legends now deal as much damage as body shots. So that's kind of sad to see, because that just makes it to where now if someone misses their shot on the torso and they're now hitting things on the limbs such as your arms, you're still going to take a lot of damage. So there's no benefit of someone hitting your limbs versus hitting your chest now. So, if you use a low profile legend, that is, which most people do with Wraith and Pathfinder and things like that. So we can consider that a slight nerf for low profile legends like that. Also, moving on, we have Revenant player feedback that Revenant wasn't feeling viable enough has been loud and clear, and game data showed the same. Our goal is to bring his effectiveness up to parity with other legends. So they say his silence now increased duration of the status effect from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. Silence now disables Gibraltar's gun shield, which is a really good effectiveness, I think, and then also increased the duration of effect from 5 seconds to 10 seconds, and silence now has 2 charges. So Revenant got a really big buff right here. Basically, if you don't know what this means, whenever you get silenced by Revenant, you won't have to wait 10 seconds anymore to get your abilities back. Now you have to wait 20 seconds. It also disables Gibraltar's gun shield, and the amount of time that the silence actually sits on the map where you can actually be affected by it has been increased by 5 seconds, and it has 2 charges now, which is really big, I think. So moving on to the death totem, we have Revenant's death totem, which is his ultimate. Characters are now respawned with 50 health or whatever health they had when they activated, if it's lower obviously instead of 1. So basically it's just saying if you go into the death totem and you have more than 50 health and you get too far and the death totem, your shadow ability goes away, you'll obviously keep the amount of health that you have. But if you're under 50, instead of it going back to 1 of you getting killed, you'll actually respawn with 50 health. So it's actually giving you more health by dying with the shadow ability, which is kind of what Revenant's needed in this ultimate. So I think that's a really good effect and addition to Revenant. I think it'll add him in a lot more people's lineups, and maybe people will start using him more often. It's also worth noting that Revenant is no longer a low profile legend. And now moving on to a really big announcement. I'm really excited for this because I have a lot of kills with Lifeline. And they also say Lifeline, a new secondary passive, Lifeline can access secret compartments with more loot on the blue loot bins. Blue bins are found randomly replacing ordinary bins. These rare bins will have a secondary compartment that only Lifeline can open. And I think it's not going to be just Lifeline for long. I think this has to do with those passives that were leaked out quite a bit ago about the recon legends all being able to use the recon beacons or the survey beacons, and then also having like Mirage and Octane having an extra nade slot and stuff like that. We talked about those in a video prior to this, so I think this is what that's talking about. Maybe you'll see more legends added to this secondary passive, and we'll talk more about that as we learn more in the future. They say the secondary compartment will always contain some mixture of health items, weapon attachments, and knockdown shields. So Lifeline has that only ability to find those things in those loot bins. So maybe Lifeline could be a really big part of the meta now. So we'll just have to wait and see. We have a Wraith adjustment here. Portals will now disappear after 4 seconds if both ends are outside the circle. This change was made to combat players exploiting the portal to avoid taking damage outside the ring. Wow, so they only last 4 seconds if they're outside the ring now. That's pretty crazy. That's a pretty big nerf for Wraith. Reduce the amount of damage required to evolve the Evo armor. So now, if you have a blue armor for the Evo shield, you only need 75 damage to get that blue from the level 1. If you want to get the purple, you only need 150 instead of 300. And if you want the red armor, you only need 400 instead of the 500. So I think Evo shields got a massive buff right here. People are going to be using the Evo shields a lot more because you don't have to do nearly as much damage to get that purple armor. So now with Evo shields, what used to take only 100 damage to get from the white to blue, you only need to do 50 more damage than that just to get the purple now. So it's a really big buff in Evo shields, I think, and I think it'll be really good for the health of the game. So moving on to King's Canyon and King's Canyon After Dark, they increase the total amount of loot items that spawn in the map. That's really good because a lot of people just find terrible loot in King's Canyon, and it's really frustrating because it really comes down to RNG. So a lot of people are going to be happy with this now that they've added more things, and it's a really good addition to this update. Lastly, we have bug fixes and quality of life. I'm going to run through these really quickly so you guys can understand these. And the first off, they start off by saying they fixed a bug for cases where matches result would not process correctly after players were disconnected. They also fixed some script errors. They fixed a bug where for cases where taller legends could get stuck in geometry after using Wraith's portal. That happened with me a lot of times with Pathfinder. Fixed bug for cases where players that were under Revenant's death protection could still be healed by Lifeline's drone and Watson's interceptor pylon. So They also have a fixed bug where mantling with Wraith would cause the camera to clip through the character. I've never actually seen that before, but good thing that they fixed that. They also have a PS4 bug where they fixed the lighting in some interior areas on the World's Edge map that were appearing too dark. That's actually really good because I noticed that one. Fixed bug where sometimes players would lose aim assist after being hit by Revenant's silent ability. Fixed for cases where players would not receive assist credit when using Crypto's drone to scan enemies. Also fixed an issue where sometimes players could hear and in rare cases be hit by Revenant's abilities while in the firing range when he's not there. Fixed some cases where the circle would end in a bad invalid location. Fixed to help reduce cases of invisible doors. Fixed issues with Bangalore's skin where the legs were not showing and the wrong skins were mantling. Fixed a bug for cases when Revenant places his ult death totem on the train and a player is respawned to it while on the train and the train is moving. The player could be respawned somewhere else on the map or even off of the map. They also energized charge for the Sentinel sniper rifle can now be cancelled with Y or the triangle button. A fixed bug for cases where dive trails were visible before exiting the dropship. Also lastly, fixes a bug for a map bug related to exploitable hiding spots and bad geometry. So that's really good because there are some crazy spots that you can get in with these bugs before they were fixed. So hopefully they'll kind of get rid of those rat spots, and I'm not gonna lie, I used a lot of them sometimes, so it's probably good and best for the game's health that they just go ahead and get rid of those and fix those so people are playing fairly. So let me know what you guys think about these patch notes. There's a lot to go over, a lot of nerfs, a lot of buffs. There's a few things that I did not see on here that I was expecting, like maybe a Mirage buff or an Octane buff or something of that nature. Kind of sad to see that. I just was really hoping that they would bring something more viable to the game and just make Mirage and Octane more fun, because so many people love those legends and they're not able to use them. But it is good to see that Revenant has been buffed quite a bit. My favorite Lifeline has finally been buffed, and that's really good to see. Honestly, it is. So I'm glad to see all of this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Also, I'm sure you guys are completely aware that the big game Valorant is out for closed beta testing, and I actually will be playing it tonight on stream. I'm going to release a video of a new leak that we have on my YouTube channel tonight, and whenever I release that video, I'll also be streaming Valorant at the same time. So make sure to come watch me there at twitch.tv/JMeyelsYT. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.